Hello guys, in this video we're going to be looking at a plugin called WooCommerce Event Manager, and essentially it's a plugin that allows you to create events for your WordPress website. So this plugin actually uses WooCommerce functionality, so make sure you have WooCommerce installed before you continue the tutorial. So to add the plugin, you go over to the add new tab under your plugin section at your dashboard, and you go over to the search bar and you type in WooCommerce Event Manager. Okay, so once you search for the plugin, you're gonna get this first one over here. So it's made by Mage People Team, so make sure you just make sure you check the author before you install this. Okay, so you click on install now, and this gets downloaded to your server, and once that's done, click on activate. Okay, so once you have that done, it's going to take you to the landing page for this. Okay, so once you create this plugin, it's going to create a new custom post type called events. Okay, so it gives you options for to create events, all your events, categories, organizers, and event settings. Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to be going through every single one of these features. So we'll start out by going over to events. Okay, so if you click on this all events tab here, you're going to get a list of all your events, just like on page on your post section. Okay, so first off, we have event category listed here, we have event organizers, we have status, we have event start date, and we have total available seats. So we're going to go ahead and create a new event so we can see how this looks over here also. So I'm currently using WordPress 5.6. If you're using anything less, it's still going to work, and I'm using Gutenberg. So even if you're using classic editor, it essentially works the same way. So I'm just going to give this a title of let's just name this event 1. Okay, and we'll scroll down to the bottom. So when you scroll down, you don't need to add any text here. You can add some text here if you want, like a description, but most times you just come down here and fill in all these details. So this is where you add in your event information. So this is like an auto draft. So for the first tab here is venue/location. So this is where you have to add in your location of the event. Okay, so you actually have two sources. We have event details and we have event organizers. I'm going to show you how you can add an organizer later on in the video, but for now we're just going to go with event details. Okay, so for event details you have to fill in everything here manually. So for the venue, I'm just going to type in New York. Okay, New York. For the city, I'm going to type in New York also, and for the postcode, I'm just going to type in the same postcode here. And over here you need to type in a street address, so I'm just going to type in something random. For states, type in NY. For country, I'll type in USA. Okay, so with this you should already have your event location configured. You also have the option to show a Google map. So if I click on this, I can show Google map on the page, but note that this isn't going to work except you've added an API. Okay, so you have to add an API. I'll show you where you can add your Google Map API later on in the video, but if you don't have that added, it's not going to display the Google Map properly. So basically, in the tickets type and pricing section, we have two separate tabs. We have ticket type lists and extra service area. So for tickets type list, this is essentially where you add in your different kinds of tickets depending on the criteria. So for example, you could say I want to charge if someone is an adult and they want to attend my event, I'm going to charge 30 euros. Okay, and you could type in add in the total available seats or quantity. So I could just say 500, so I have like 500 seats available, and the default quantity is simply what when someone wants to buy the book a ticket initially, they're going to have, if you type in 1 here, they're going to be able to book 1 ticket. Okay, so if you type in 5, the default value there for booking is going to be 5, but they can also change it back to 1 if they want. So this is just default quantity. Then over here we have reserve quantity. So reserve quantity is the total number of tickets that you have reserved and you don't want to be made available to the public. So if I type in 10 here, we're going to have 500 tickets, but 10 reserved tickets. So only 490 tickets are going to be eligible to be sold. Okay, so that's what this reserved ticket is, reserved tab is for. They also have quantity box type. So some users might want to buy more than one ticket at a time, so you can either add in an input box or a drop down list. Okay, so if I add in an input box, they have to type in a number of tickets they want, and if I add in a drop down list, they need to select select the quantity that they want. So we're going to add another one, and we're just going to name this let's say children, and I'll make the ticket for this 20, available quantity 100, default quantity is also going to be 1, and we're going to reserve 5. Then over here, we're going to add in input instead, so we can see the difference when we view this on the front end. Okay, so you can add as many tickets types as you want. There's no limits to this. So let's just leave this as 2. So we have adults and we have children. Then for extra service area, this is essentially where you can add in things like add-ons like refreshments. So if you're offering refreshments at your event, you could type in refreshments here. Okay, and you could say for 10 euros extra you get refreshments, and we have about 1000 units of refreshments available. And like just like your ticket type list, you can also add in the drop down list or an input box to allow bookers to add in a quantity of extra service that they want. Okay, so that's essentially it for ticket type and pricing. Next we go over to date and time. So over at the date and time section, you're going to need to set an event date and time. Okay, so this is split into 4. We have start date, start time, end date, and end time. For start date, this is essentially the day the event is going to start. For start time, this is the exact time the event is going to start on the specified day. Okay, then for end date, this is when your event is going to end, and for end time, this is the specific time that the event is going to end. So you can add multiple of these. So if you have like 3 different days scheduled for this exact event, you could add 3 different ones. So because of this is a tutorial, I'm just going to leave just one of these, and I'm going to add in some random dates here. All right, so let's leave this as 23, and let's just leave this as 12, and I'm going to give a 1 day gap and add an end time also. Okay, so this should be enough. If you want another one, you could add that. So if your event is spanning more than 1 day, you can add that here. The next up, we'll go over to settings. So for settings, if you want to disable registrations for this specific event, you can do that here. And if you want to leave it on, you can just leave this checked because it's checked by default. So once you take this off, it's no longer going to be possible for anyone to register. Then over here you have the option to show available seats. So if you want to keep your this total number of seats private, you can just turn this off here. And over here you can reset your booking counter, and do know that once you reset your booking counter, it's going to be removed and you'll be able to get that back. So make sure you're careful with this. Then over here you can select if the event is virtual. Okay, so if this event is virtual, just click on this and you can add in a description for the virtual event. So if you read the description here, please enter your virtual event joining details information. This information will be sent to buyer with confirmation image. So you can just add in your Skype ID or something of that sort here. Okay, if you are hosting an virtual event. Then next up we have the rich text section. This is just virtually for Google and SEO and schema and all that. So if your event is an online event, like a virtual event, make sure this is online, and if it's an offline event, make sure this is offline. And if it's mixed, let's say you're having both or you have something of that sort, just make sure it's on mixed event attendance mode. Okay, so for this event, this is offline, so we're going to leave this as offline, and that's essentially what this is for. You don't really need to do anything here. Okay, next up we have FAG. Okay, at FAG, this is frequently asked questions. So you could add in some questions and answers based on what you think people would want to ask. Okay, so if I click on this here, it's going to give me like a title. I could say, where is the event being hosted? Okay, so you could type in a question here and type in an answer here, and it's going to be displayed on the front end when someone is buying a ticket. Okay, so that's just what FAG is for. You can add as many as you want. So if I click on add new FAG, I get about 3 different questions and answer space here. So I'm going to delete this because we're not adding this. And the same thing for daywise. You can add daywise instructions if you want, just like that of fag also. Okay. Then last but not least, here we have email confirmation text. So you could add in a confirmation text when someone successfully purchases a ticket. So whatever you want to type in here, you can type this. You could say thanks for purchasing our ticket or something of that sort. Okay. So next up we have event list thumbnail. So for event thumbnail, this is essentially the like the featured image. So this is going to represent your event. So if you have like an event flyer designed, just upload that over here. So you click on upload, it's going to take you to your media library. We don't have any images here, so I'm just going to select this placeholder from WooCommerce. So whatever cover you add here, this is what is going to be displayed on social media when someone is sharing this event link. Okay. So apart from that, we also have another feature here, which is called template. Okay. So by default, we have this default theme selected here, and I'm just going to show you how the default theme looks like. So I'm going to preview this, open this in a new tab, and let's see how it looks. Okay. So this is essentially how the default template looks like. As you can see, we have event dates, event time, event location. So basically all the information we've added in is being displayed over here. And we have some extra features like you could share this event, you could add it to a calendar. So I click on add calendar, I can add it to my Google Calendar, my Yahoo, my Outlook. So that's just an extra feature there. We also have the ticket section. So if you remember, we added two ticket types, adults and children. And for adults we added a drop down, and for children we added an input box. So I just added all these different variables so you see the differences on the front end, so you could achieve exactly what you want. Then for extra services, as you can see, you can add as many as you like also from here, and they all have the same price that we stated. So once you're done with everything here, just click on register event, and it's going to take you to your checkout page. Okay. So if I click on view carts, it's just going to take us through the normal WooCommerce checkout. Okay. So let's try changing the template and see how it looks. Okay. So this is just the default templates. Let's change this to Springfield and preview and see how it looks now. Okay, so for Springfield, as you can see, the layout is a little bit different. Some features have been removed and some extra features are added, and the layout is completely different. Okay, so instead of always adding in a location, a city, a postcode, street, and the rest of the venue location for each event you want to create, an easier way of doing that would be selecting an organizer. Okay, so Event Manager actually gives you this feature where you can add in an organizer. So you could add in information like location, street, address, city, state, and all that. So whenever you're trying to create a new event, all you'd have to do is just select an organizer and not worry about adding in all these details manually. Okay, so you just to create a new event, you go over to your events section here, and over at the organizer tab, just click on this, and over here we're going to need to add in a name. So I'm just going to name this Onslow venue, for example, and you could leave this log on its own. It's going to be generated by the plugin, and you could add in a description here if you want. Then over here you need to add in a location, so I could say 33 Onslow Street. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So I'm just trying to give you like an example, and this is really isn't a real state or anything. Okay, so we have Onslow. For postcode, I'm just going to type in anything also, and for country I'm going to type in anything also. So once I click on add new organizer, if you come over here, you're going to see the organizer name here. So we're going to go over here and make sure the event location source is selected as organizer. Okay, so once you have this as organizer, if you read the instructions here on the sidebar here, you're supposed to select click on the checkbox for the organizer you want to select for this specific event. Okay, so I'm just going to check on Onslow venue, and I'm going to save this. So I'm just going to type in event 2, and publish this. Okay, so once this is done, it's going to appear exactly how we configured the address here. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how that looks. So as you can see, the exact address we added, that's what's displaying here. So that's a neat way of arranging your event venues using organizers. You can also create categories. These are very simple and they just allow you to be able to organize your event. So you could say online events, and just scroll down and click add new, and I'm going to create one more and I'll name this offline events. Okay, so whatever criteria you're trying to classify your events by. Finally, we're going to be looking at the event settings and how it works. So this basically gives you control over how the plugin works. So you can do things like change the labels, you can change the view, the default template, and all that. So if you look over here, we have about 6 different tabs. We have the first one, which is general settings. Then we have one for email settings, and we have for style, translation, carousel, and custom CSS. So we're going to go through everything here. So for general settings, you can do things like change the default label here. So if you want to change this from events, you can change this here, you can change this something else. So this just gives you granular control over how the entire plugin works here. Okay, so if I change I change the icon here, it's going to reflect over here. Okay, so there's basically a lot of things you can do here. You can also add in your map type. So there's basically 2 map types. We have API and iframe. Okay, so you can go with any of these 2. So if to get your map to work, you need to add in an API key. So you can do that by clicking on this link. So if you click on this link, it's going to take you to a walkthrough, and all you have to do is just go through the walkthrough and copy and paste the Google Map API key over here. Okay, then you also have the options to enable speaker list. So if you want to display speaker list, you can enable that here, but by default it is disabled. Then over here you have event details template. So by default this is always at default theme, but if you like you prefer another kind of view, you can choose one of these other ones here. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this as default. You can also do things like show event price and list, show multiple dates list, enable shipping method on events. So there's a lot of settings here. So this basically just gives you control of how the plugin works, like in terms of a general sense. Okay, so you can hide certain things, like you could hide the calendar button at the display page, you could hide the share button. So there's a lot of granular control you get with this. So that's basically what the general setting does. If you go over to the email settings, this basically gives you like a way of adding in the email template. Okay, so once someone buys a ticket or registers for an event, you're going to be sending them confirmation emails and all that. Okay, so you could uh, type in your form email, your official form email. So it could be something like admin at rightmatrix.com, and I could add in a subject like thanks for your purchase, and I could add in some extra confirmation text here. So this just basically gives you control over that. And over here you have the option to select when you want to send an email. So by default it's only when an order has been completed. You can also add processing, so it sends an email also when an order is being processed. So but by default it's just being completed. So that's basically it for this. Next we go over to style settings. So style setting just simply gives you control over colors. Okay, so you could select a base color. So if you don't like the default color, let's say you want something like red, you could just pick red from here. So this is going to be a new base color. And label background color, you could change your label background color, your label text color, cut button, and everything that you see in your details page, your event details page, you can control the color from here. Okay, so that's basically what style is for. Just play around with this and you'll be able to get any kind of style that you're in need of. Okay, next up we have translation. So the way translation works is by default the plugin has specific names for specific things. Okay, so for example, you have ticket type. You can change this ticket type to something else if you want, or you could change to another language. So if I go over to Google Translate, and let's copy this and paste this here, and I translate this to French, I could copy this and replace this with French. Okay, so if this is a French website, you simply convert every single one of these to French. Okay, so that's essentially what this translation part is for. Whatever you change here, it's also going to change the front end of your display page. Okay, so you basically have control over every single word. We have for ticket, you could add in another name, so I could just change from ticket, I could change this to billet in French. Okay, so you basically have control over every single word, and you could translate that into another language if you want, or you could just change that to another word if you want. So that's basically what translation is for. It's very straightforward and very easy to use. Next up, we have carousel. So you might want to load your if you want to load the old carousel from your theme, you can do that here, but by default it's being loaded by the plugin. And you also have options for autoplay, infinite loop, and carousel speed. So this is just another extra setting. And for custom CSS, this is where you add in your custom CSS. Okay, so if you know how to use CSS and you want to be able to style certain things in the events details page, you can actually do that from here. So I could just say I want every H2 tag in the event page to have a color of white. Okay, so once I save this, this is going to reflect on the events page. Okay, so this isn't a site-wide CSS styling code. It's just for the plugin itself, and you could also change any color that you want from here, but sometimes you might want to change certain things, some granular make some granular changes. So that's what you use custom CSS for. So I hope you guys found this video useful. If you have any questions, you can ask via the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.